Welcome to episode 24 of Bradders Grappers, the show that British transport system truly hates because every January it tries to find new ways to screw me over, but it never works because I always get refunds. That all said, that does tie into this show, which I will get into in a little moment. So, this episode, we are taking a trip over the Pennines to good old Huddersfield for what saw TIDAL Wrestling putting on two shows. The first being Waves of Destiny, and was followed up with a very late afternoon show entitled This One's For You 2 Electric Boogaloo. Okay, maybe not Electric Boogaloo, but it was This One's For You 2, which was a all women's card and was a really fun day that we spent in Huddersfield at the parish. So, before we get into the graps that happened on last Sunday, let's talk about travel, shall we? Because January seems to be my unluckiest month to ever travel to wrestling shows. Because I believe I attended a North show a couple years ago, and on that occasion, there were problems heading up to the northeast, and then last year had me having to fork out £92.90 coming back from Bridge Pro in Stourbridge, because we had one of the whatever storm it was and involved about 4 or 5 trains. So, of course, coming into this year, hoping a clean slate and transport being kind, spoiled, it wasn't. There was a fire just prior to the tunnel in just past Staley Bridge, which links Lancashire to Yorkshire. A 3-mile hole, which would be a gynecologist's dream to have that big of a hole. That all said, I was meeting up with friends to take the train over. That being with Mikey, Craig, and hairdresser Steve. Good evening, lads, if you're watching this, because I know neither or all 3 of you will not be watching. So we ended up taking a taxi from Salford to Huddersfield. The driver refused to drop us off outside of the venue, claiming that there was impeded by boardings and everything's. No, it wasn't. He was just lazy. So once we kind of got all the travelling on a very misty and murky journey over the hills, we ended up getting into the parish. First time going to a TIDAL show. Equally first time, obviously, going to the parish. And I have to say, I did actually like the whole venue and setup there. It was made even better I was wearing my Paramore shirt, and they were playing some of their tunes, which was a big thumbs up already. But then also having the interrupters on was an added bonus. So whoever is the DJ at Parish, thumbs up. You're doing a great job. I love it. The venue itself it's a very enclosed venue. That said, though, it's still a nice layout. It gives off breadshed vibes, but with a much higher roof for a start. I chose to stand for the two shows because I'd be bloody mad. But I was stood and chatting with Cara, which a lot of you in the Northwest and possibly elsewhere know, because they are one of the helpers at Tidal, and you'll see them kind of like bouncing around the Northwest scene. So I was joining in with the offering support during the claps and chants. Some hit, some didn't, but that's kind of wrestling crowds. So we will get into this show because a lot of it I have forgot. So apologies there, and we are pretty much winging this with the odd shot of memory that's somewhere in that grey matter. So we opened the day with the Tidal Championship as Tom Felwell, joined by Danny Proper. Tom, I should say, took on Spike Trevay. This was a really enjoyable, solid opener. Tom very much being the rule breaker in this contest, bringing up kind of like Manchester, which bringing up Manchester, especially in Yorkshire, you ain't getting cheered, mate. And was pretty much the reaction he wanted. It did help that my mate kind of joined in with the 0161 chant, which was brave on his part, it has to be said. It was really strange as well seeing Spike Trevay playing a fan favorite, because everywhere I've ever seen him, he has played the kind of like the rule breaker, heel, if you want to go that way. But this was a really fun opening match. I did like the spot where Tom put his hand out to Spike with his fingers crossed behind his back, wanted to kind of shake his hand. Spike asking the crowd, "Is it a trap?" And whereas most of the time you'll kind of like have the good guy shake the hand and that leads to a beatdown, Spike grabbing the hand of Tom and just snapping the fingers was something I haven't seen before, but I really did enjoy that particular spot. Tom, I mean, he did well. He did a nice little kind of reverse spot with Spike where Tom had put Spike in a move, Spike could reverse it, almost like a hammerlock, I think it was. So Tom would get Spike in a hammerlock, Spike could kind of like wriggle out, put Tom in it, Tom would then reverse it, Spike would then reverse it, and this kind of went on about 8 or 10 times, but it did not get old. It definitely had the crowd enjoying this. The match itself, Tom really did a good job here. Spike, I've always said the point of if a wrestler can play both the rule breaker and the fan favorite and get a crowd reaction, then they are kind of like their weight in gold, or worth their weight in gold. And seeing how Spike was being the good guy, I've always been a fan of Spike. I love his kind of villainous role that he had in Progress when I kind of first got into the British wrestling scene properly. So to see almost a flip side of Spike was refreshing to see, and it has made me want to like see more Tidal, which I am looking to try and do more this year, because the show itself, I fully enjoyed. If truth be told, the match itself, though, Spike ended Tom's hopes of a title change, hitting the Tower of Silence. So Spike retains the Tidal Championship. Match number 2 saw Ace Matthews taking on Alexander Lockhart, accompanied by Lucy Couture. This, again, Ace in the same kind of boat, so to speak, as Spike for me. I've only ever seen Ace at North, and he has predominantly been kind of like the bad guy as part of the landed gentry. So seeing Ace being I don't know if he's an in-betweener or a good guy, because I couldn't fully work that out early doors. Not until the crowd is kind of cheering for Ace and seeing how Lockhart was. They did announce, however, that Matthews has gone a year without winning in Tidal. So I feel they're building to something where he kind of gets a win. So they could have possibly posted what might happen on a later show. We'll touch on that in a second. The contest itself, Ace battling hard. Lockhart was in all sorts of trouble, but kind of having Couture as your I don't want to say valet, because she's not a valet, but kind of a company friend, whatever. She distracted Ace, as it had both Lockhart and Couture on the ring apron. Ace comes running over. Lockhart moves out of the way. Lockhart then gets the victory. I think it's a roll-up. I haven't put how the match ended. But for the majority, it was kind of everything was going for Matthews. But this is my first time seeing Alexander Lockhart. He has a distinct character on watching him. To which this worked really well with Ace, I felt. So I think I'm going to look more into kind of like Lockhart's career kind of looking on YouTube and things like that just to kind of get up to speed. Because I know he does do Spinebuster Media, Spinebuster Underground. So I will have to give a couple of those a watch. After the match, it saw Ace going to unlace his boots, a sign of kind of calling it quits, retiring. The crowd all shouting, or telling Ace, "Don't do it," shouting, "No, no." He then asks for the microphone, tells Taj that to give him one final shot at the Tidal Championship. They saw Taj kind of reluctantly agreeing to this, asking of this question. So it looks like we are going to get Ace Matthews versus Spike Trevay for the Tidal Championship. Maybe on the next show. That could have been said. Again, memories a bit fuzzy. But yes, that is what happened with that. Match number 3 saw for the Tidal Tag Team Championships, Misery Business, consisting of Joe Wade and Alan. I haven't got his surname, which isn't the best thing to do. So I'll just call him Misery Business because that's going to be my cheap way out. They took on Wing Commander Nash and Wesley Ensarenko. This felt very much the kind of the palate cleanser of the show, or so to speak, at least. Nash took some nasty looking chops from Joe Wade. One where Nash had his shirt pulled over him and Wade just let loose with a couple of stiff chops. It was the thing of they were both dressed up like Hogan, which again is a thing, which was an interesting route to go down. It has to be said. It was a okay tag title match. Seemed to be more kind of humor than anything. The back end of it saw Nash kind of faking a knee injury. Well, we didn't know that at the time. Nash kind of like went into the turnbuckle, fell backwards, holding his knee. Saw Jamie, who was helping as a medic. She came into the ring to help. Everyone kind of went quiet. Misery Business came in to check on him. This led to Nash proving that he was not injured, as it was all a ruse, and had him grabbing Joe Wade to get the pinfall in a kind of like a roll-up attempt. This saw brand new Tidal Tag Team Champions with Misery Business none too happy, and well they should, to be fair. So it feels like Nash and Wesley have gone down the dark side, which, considering Misery Business are very dark themselves, have gone even darker, the Misery Business. But it's going to be interesting to see if the former tag champs want to try and reclaim those belts at a later date. We then had, as the main event of the first half, the HT Drake Challenge. And this saw the challenge being answered by Big Rig. So there was some history between these two men, which HT very much made cutting a promo on the mic, and challenged Rig to a big man match, which was effectively all moves must be done in a big man style. So no flips, no kind of fast paced stuff. It's going to be a meaty man match, effectively. So both men did extremely well to kind of keep it within the parameters of that stipulation. This is despite both men hitting moves that were outside of that and apologizing and trying to find ways round it. Drake hitting a cane clothesline when he went onto the top rope had the crowd all pointing and going, no, you can't do that. That's not a big man move. HT using his quick thinking to claim that it's a cane clothesline, which, I mean, it is a big man move. Kane did do that. So this kind of went back and forth. This was, it was pretty kind of silly, but it was a good silly. I really enjoyed it. Drake then asked Ref Katie to get on his back as he performed a warrior splash. Again, a choice to use certain moves. Well, I just get random messages off friends. So he has Katie on his back, splashes Big Rig, does not get the pinfall victory, which leads to Drake going, I need more strength, I need more weight. Then shouts ref Sandy Beaches to come to the ring and has both Katie and Sandy on his back, and obviously he could not run with them two on there. Kind of bounced off the ropes and just crumbled on top of Big Rig, with both the referees looking in pain, having been on Drake's back and then just falling over. We did technically see a 6 count, because both the referees counted the pinfall victory for Drake. It was a load of fun. Nothing wrong with that. It's for the silliness, it was up there. Again, as I said, I enjoyed this match. It was something different, which I think all wrestling shows kind of need to be. We then went for the interval, and when we came back, it saw Taj, the TIDAL owner, making a speech about, if you want to do something, then do it. Don't worry about what people will say or if anything's going to go wrong. Just do it. Do it for you. Do something that makes you happy. She then announced that as of the end of this year, she will be stepping down as the owner of TIDAL Wrestling, having taken over, I think, around 2022. I could be wrong, but it was early, kind of 2020s. But she did announce that Z, who is head of creative, and one of the main people, one of the main players, if you will, with the promotion, will be taking over the reins of Tidal, heading into 2027. So it seems that the promotion, while in good hands, is going to be in equally better hands with Z taking over. Back to the action, and we had a really enjoyable contest with Denzel Mack taking on Jet Marshall. Both of these I've seen kind of at North Wrestling or at TNT. Denzel Mack, who we saw kind of September, taking on Tommy Tanner back in TNT. They had a really great opening match on that card. Jet Marshall has. It's hard to actually kind of place Jet for me with North, because I think when I first saw him, he was a. I think he was a good guy, but then the last show I saw of North was actually the lead show. So I'm a bit out of the loop with North at the moment. But he kind of came back as a bad guy. But on this occasion, both were kind of fan favorites. Again, this was a really enjoyable contest. Denzel having the better of things, just kind of like with the bolt. Jet, who was giving up a few pounds to Denzel, but Marshall always seemed to have that kind of bulldog spirit of just always fighting back. Did have Mac on the back foot at one point. However, a frog splash from Mac would prove to be enough on this occasion, and saw Denzel taking victory, with him and Marshall kind of raising each other's hand after the contest. Show of good sportsmanship and a really enjoyable contest to boot. Then we saw the collision of the freak show as Axel the Clown took on Gentleman Jim Maguire with special guest referee Freaky Felicia. So most of this card was all new to me, because I haven't really followed Tidal. I've heard podcasts on shows that have happened. So there has obviously been a breakdown within the freak show. Felicia, being the special guest referee, kept having Axel telling her to do this and do that, almost kind of siding with him. But Felicia, donning the stripes, was more than happy to kind of play it down the middle. Felicia tried to stop Axel throwing so many punches on Gentleman Jim Maguire in the corner. Twice, Axel had thrown Felicia off, leading to the crowd, thinking, are we going to get Felicia do something? But she did not rise to the bait. She wanted to do everything fair. She didn't want to play favorites. However, the back end of this contest saw Axel just pushing Felicia too much. And Felicia ended up hitting like almost like a crossroads move on Axel before shaking in the corner, a la kind of Shawn Michaels after super kicking the Undertaker back in that Hell in a Cell match. I think it was WrestleMania 32, 31, one of those matches. So she didn't want to get involved, but she did. Jim would get the pinfall. Axel took off, did not want to shake Maguire's hand, did not want to know Felicia. So I think this story still has some legs in it. So we will see what happens down the line. We ended the first show, I should say, with an Iron Will title contest. This was my match of the day. Shea Monet challenging the Iron Will champion in Vusic. This was so good. Again, Shea Monet, who I've seen mostly wrestling at TNT as the bad guy, seeing him being kind of the good guy, it was interesting to have the crowd cheer for Monet. Vusic, who I've now seen kind of being heelish, it really does seem weird seeing Vusic with hair. I know a few people have said this, but it adds a different dynamic to him. But it's still strange for me. I suppose it'll grow on me eventually, as would him. So Monet jumps out to a 2-0 lead in a 15-minute Iron Will match. However, Vusic fights his way back into the contest, leveling at 2 apiece for a Desmond. And then in the closing stages of the last few minutes, would score 3 pinfalls for a couple of submissions, taking the contest to a 5-2 victory. It makes a change to have a kind of like an Iron Man match and it not leading to like a funny ending or a one fall difference. It was fully kind of like a clear-cut win for Vusic. But Monet, it was such an enjoyable match to watch. Hard hitting as hell. Monet did a great job in this contest. So did Vusic. They told a good story. I would love to see them kind of like go again. I just really enjoyed this contest. Even though I haven't written as many notes, it really was my standout match of the entire 2 shows. I did manage to film quite a bit, but I really did enjoy this contest. It was so much fun to watch. And I was almost sad it finished so early, to be fair. But yeah, a great way to finish off the first half of a double header show. So we then kind of like went for a couple of drinks downstairs. We then returned for show number 2, which was This One's for You Too, with Nikki doing the announcing in the second half. Oh, sorry. Before we come to this, the aftermath of the Vucic and Shea Monet match saw Vucic continuing the assault on Monet and would not give up putting the hold on. This would lead to HT Drake coming out, who informed us that he is a Grand Slam champion in the promotion. And because he won the Rumble, I think on the last show or a couple shows ago, that entitles him to challenge for whatever title there is in TIDAL that he would like to go for, and opts to go for the Iron Will title and would like to try and beat the hell out of Vucic. And having them two in the ring, it's going to be a good one. So if I do make it to the next show, I definitely have one match that I am massively invested in. Moving after we had the break between the two shows, we headed to show number 2 entitled This One's for You Too, which was a all women's card. And there were a couple of good matches and a strange opener, it has to be said. So we started off with Freaky Felicia of the Freak Show taking on Nisa. I've not seen Nisa before. The contest itself went probably about 2.5, 3 minutes. Again, I do not know if something had happened, if Nisa had picked up an injury, or what particularly happened. But they kind of seemed like rabbits in a headlight at times. Felicia ended up kind of walking Nisha through the match. I want to say there was like a slight injury or something had happened, but the timing was pretty much off in this, which was a bit of a shame. But it just feels like something had happened for it to only go like 3 minutes. But both were okay because they took part in the Battle Royal. So yeah, it was a really weird contest that the fans couldn't really get really into because the band never really got going, in fairness. But Felicia, I believe, has been injured. Saw her making her return to singles action in this, winning with a choke slam. So yeah, that was your opener. Match number 2 was a really fun one. Natasha Swan and Lucy Couture accompanied this time a flip from the earlier show with Alexander Lockhart being at ringside. Again, this one felt a bit of a slow burner, but then once kind of they got the feet going and everything, the match really kind of like picked up a bit of steam. The crowd was into it. Couture, who gives off bratty vibes, even kind of like the ring entrance music. Someone who, in kind of like pink, and was just an extremely plucky crowd favorite. Couture, who did, as a rule breaker villain, she really plays that part extremely well, which I think does help matches that don't always kind of get going. But her kind of character work really did help this at the beginning. Kind of moaning at the crowd, picking on Swan, even getting Lockout to join in as well. Really good work. The match, when it got going, really kind of enjoyable to watch. I'd never seen these two wrestle before. I've heard a lot about Couture. The match ended when it saw Swan dashing towards Couture and Lockout, who were both on the ring apron. Lucy kind of like leant back, saw Lockout getting knocked off the top. Couture then grabbed hold of Swan, spun around, hit a stunner to get the victory, to pick up the 1-2-3. It was a really solid, enjoyable contest. It definitely made me a fan of both Swan and Couture moving forward. And of course, we would see both of these ladies later on in that #1 contenders match for the women's title. Next on the card, so a few of the matches that were announced did not happen. I think also due to logistics of obviously transport, because trains from the north coming down to Yorkshire and kind of from the northwest to Yorkshire was quite scarce. There was a lot of problems. So we ended up kind of condensing a couple of matches, it felt, and bringing in new people. So we had a triple threat match with Scarlett, Erin Taylor, and Lily Winter. Of all the matches we saw on Show 2, this is probably the standout. So we started with Lily getting her traditional abuse from the audience of Timu Elsa, mainly because she's the Ice Queen, and being the Ice Queen dressed in white, you are going to get Frozen references, and the crowd were very vocal in calling her Timu Elsa. Taylor, Taylor and Scarlett I hadn't seen before. It's like a lot on the two shows. It was nice getting to kind of see new people and becoming new fans. Taylor hit some really nice offense in this contest. You look at her, and compared to the other two, you thought that she was going to be the one that was the more picked on, but if anything, she was probably the more aggressive of the three. They all kind of played their parts well in this contest. Scarlett, who I had never seen before, I'm probably over playing that record, continuously saying that. But I really loved Scarlett in this contest. Her character came out massively. Very vocal. Whether it was intended to be, she is very funny. With like the put downs and just shouting at the referee over things. It kind of did make me fall in love with Scarlett in this match. Lily, we all know what you're getting with Lily. She is one of the best performers, I feel, in the North, and is only getting better and better with every view I see. I mean, this contest really kind of like went one way and then the other, and then a different route. Winter takes the victory, though. I think with a frostbite or skull crushing finale, if you prefer to use that, or it could have been the cold shoulder, where it's like a TKO move. A lot to like about this match. A lot to enjoy with all three in this contest. Really good contest. Easily one of the most easy to watch matches. But did a great job kind of like telling a story as well. So kind of thumbs up to all three in that match. We then came to the penultimate match of the day, which saw Ashley Vega making her debut in Tidal, I believe, taking on the women's champion in Alfie. Ashley Vega, who very much a shrinking violet, she was not. Came out with a St Andrew Scottish flag, Glaswegian, shouting a lot of stuff that was in a very thick Scottish accent, which obviously take a Scottish person, put them in England, you're just going to get kind of certain phrases shouted back at you. She did a great job at trying to keep a group of lads that were in the far corner quiet, because they kind of kept shouting things out. Anything that was Scottish based, they were pretty much launching towards her. Chants of David Tennant and the most random chant I have ever heard at a wrestling show was Mary Queen of Scots. Probably a couple more other Scottish themed things were said. Vega, who came in like a Scottish wrecking ball, as Miley Cyrus might have said, very much the aggressor in this contest and controlled it for the majority, really. Played up to the Scottishness I've written, with, again, the kind of like the group of lads that were in the corner shouting things. She'd come out with kind of like some phrases, to which I do know a lot of Scottish people, some that have a very thick Scottish accent, and even I struggled with it. And I watched a lot of Still Game, and that is quite thick at times. Alfie would fight back, though, hitting a spinning, kind of like a heel kick, which all led up to like the end of the contest. Alfie would retain the title. The match itself, I've put an okay match. There were times I felt where I kind of like drifted in and out. Again, nothing against Vega or Alfie. I think the match, you could say, went perhaps a bit too long. Possibly the chance harmed the match. But in fairness, it did its job. Vega was impressive. I definitely would love to see Vega somewhere else on a card that I'm going to, because she was really fun to watch, both in the ring and kind of like character wise. So there is that. Alfie defended her title, and she stayed out while everyone got back in the ring for our main event of the card in a battle royal to determine the #1 contender for the women's title. So I haven't written the eliminations. Vega, I think, was the first to be eliminated. Then there was kind of just chaos with people going all over the place. Ended up with the final two being Nisa and Lucy Couture. I think when we got to the final two, I think they did kind of telegraph who was going to win this. Nisa threw Lucy over the top rope, but had Alexander Lockhart catching his friend on the outside. It also saw Lily Winter staying behind as well, as they went on to help Couture taking the victory, pulling Nisa over the top rope and eliminating her, giving Couture the #1 contendership for the title. Alfie then came in the ring to confront the new #1 contender, but then had Couture getting the microphone and telling the champion to go away, which I found a bit weird, to be fair, because it made her seem more. It felt a bit weak for a champion to kind of do what the opponent wanted them to do. Because I thought we might get a beat down, or we could get something, or Alfie might put a promo. We didn't get any of that. She kind of got in the ring with Dee Dee, and then she gets told to go away, which she does. And then we have Lockhart grabbing the microphone. And in one of the interesting moments of the day, announced that, as everyone could see, Lily Winter joining them, it looks like there's a new alliance in Tidal. So with Lockhart, Couture, and Winter, he then called himself. See, I'm torn between what he said. It sounded like the House of Kant or the House of Count. However, the accent of a kind of London way accent, the way he said the final word sounded more like he said the house of the C word, which had quite a lot of people giggling and stifling their laughing. looking at you, ref Katie, and possibly Sandy Beaches. Katie was trying her absolute best not to laugh out loud, though she did have to put her hand up to her face to stop laughing. To which I think Sandy at one point said, "I think we should go." And they very quickly headed for the exit. But again, overall, the show itself, it was a fun, enjoyable show to watch. A few things that were off, but on the whole, it was still an enjoyable experience. Not having a couple that should have been there, I think, did hurt it to a certain degree. However, the talent they had on here did more than a serviceable job. If I could use a phrase even from Sir Jeff from Graps and Claps, serviceable match, or sorry, serviceable performances from all. Did not take away anything at all. The whole day, if truth be told, was an enjoyable experience. Got to catch up with some good friends. Chris Lawson, Jeebus, who is, I like to call myself the Lancastrian version of Jeebus, but on a far, far lesser scale. We all kind of had a fun time. Ended up having some food downstairs in the bar. Some bizarre discussions that took place, which we cannot repeat on any podcast for that matter, ended up with us taking a taxi back. Which, because there were no trains, every train was cancelled heading back. So that was not ideal. But the taxi driver heading home was really funny. I don't know if he was a local, but you would not have him as your tourist information center because he ripped Huddersfield completely. He did not have much of a good word to say about the place, other than the parish is as good as it gets, which could be a potential tagline for the parish if it's looking to promote itself. The only decent thing in Huddersfield. So, yeah, that was TIDAL. Again, I don't think this was the best that TIDAL could do. I think there's far more TIDAL could do. I think that's what I'm trying to say. But I think a few things potentially kind of like hampered them. That said, not knocking them at all. Really enjoyed my first trip there. Taj, who's running it, is doing extremely great there. Does make me want to come back, but really enjoyable. I would love to go to the next show there, but we'll see with funding and if anything is happening. But yeah, if you are in Huddersfield or even in the local area, I would definitely give TIDAL a go. I've heard a lot of good things about it. And in truth, it's a good promotion. There's a lot to like. There's some great performers on there. A nice mix of experience and you coming through there. And if what I've saw is a taster, then I'm definitely ready to see more of it. But yeah, that was my one-man solo voyage of Tidal. Thank you for getting through this episode, because it's took about 4 tries to record this show. So I will leave all the kind of like Tidal links in the description part. If you want to drop a message, or I don't know, maybe because that could be what you want to do, I am on X under BraddersGrappers, or BraddersGrappers, I think. You'll see the description anyway. Or Petter Brads. Instagram is where I am mostly on. That is BraddersGrappers. So you'll see all my little trips around the UK, visiting mainly Northwest shows, but I do tend to just turn up at odd little shows around the country. Again, thank you for listening. It's massively appreciated that you take your time out to listen to this, or if you're even more psychotic, watching this show. God bless you. I think you may need help, personally. But with that, thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.